Rarity was kind of really terrible and selfish, but it was a really nice conclusion.
All right, we should be going live. Hello, everyone. We just witnessed Dragon Dropped. I
Yeah.
guess this is supposed to be kind of the conclusion of the Spike and Rarity Crush thing that's been going on for 9 years.
9 years,
but is
wow.
it? That's kind of what we're going to be discussing. Is that what this is? I don't really know.
I would say so.
Yeah.
It was a insight into how kind of selfish the relationship was, and Rarity didn't really notice how much it meant to her, that kind of whole deal.
I wonder if the elevator pitch here is love triangle, but instead of love, it's a friendship triangle. Like, it's a pretty
Yeah,
straightforward premise. I wonder if that's the pitch.
I think so. Yeah. It kind of seemed like that, definitely. Oh my God, egg! Wow, that's cute.
So so yeah, so again, the premise here is simply that Rarity and like Spike finds a new friend. He gets a pen pal in the form of Gabby, which is awesome. We get Gabby return. What else do we get? We get a bunch of stuff in this episode. Lots of little bits of dialogue that kind of contribute to the lore and continuity. I like a lot.
we had Rarity trying to taste the crystals.
Yeah, apparently they taste the crystals to tell if they're real or not. That's nice. And
Yeah.
of course it's Spike's job. Like that kind of it's funny because that's kind of a cartoony moment where it's implied that the gem is fake and he's trying to sell them fake gems. Like that's funny. But then you also have that continuity of Spike eating gems and having this like ability to tell if they're real or not by that. And that's a nice touch, I think.
Or maybe it's the
It really
quality of the
is.
gems, I think.
Yeah.
Probably.
Yeah.
That's my guess. That he's testing the quality of the gems as opposed to whether they're real or fake.
I
I'm
think
just
I
thinking.
think Josh Haber did a great job of having lots of little jokes like that, little gags that not only are kind of funny on their own, but also tie into this ongoing continuity of the show. And
Yeah.
I I don't know. At the same time, I do have some things to complain about, but like they're. I got to be honest. Like this episode, I had an existential crisis with this episode. I realized my enjoyment of this episode was managed too much by my expectations. I thought we were going to get like a dramatic conclusion to the Spike and Rarity Crush thing, where they both realize they should just be friends and how they have a really deep heart talk and none of that happened, and I was disappointed. It's like, oh, it wasn't that good of an episode. But then I realized, wait, if I didn't expect all of that, it's still a great episode all on its own. Why would I? so, so this episode is actually bigger than any other episode in the sense that I'm like realizing, okay, this is why the show has to end because us bronies have too many expectations. I don't know.
That
Oh.
too, definitely. Yeah, it's just like there's so much on the writers. Like the writers have to pay attention to all the continuity of the show, which I mean, obviously that's their job. But yeah, it's kind of like that.
Yeah, that's like I feel like Rarity in this screenshot right now. I'm having a crisis because I'm realizing it's all coming together. This is why the show has to end. Like it hit
Yeah.
me personally.
Oh, speaking of the fainting couch, did you guys notice like a couple
Yes.
frames where Twilight tried out her the fainting couch?
So I wrote down the jokes. Actually, a good screenshot. Rarity using it now, but the joke is Twilight is like stuck with all of these fainting couches because Rarity just pulls them out of nowhere.
That's
That was
true.
the joke I
Oh,
got because in the one shot, I'll skip all the way ahead maybe here. She's taking out the trash, and part of the trash is one of Rarity's old fainting couches that we just saw in the
wait,
previous
what? You have a
screenshot.
screenshot of that?
Yeah, it's a relatively subtle joke, but
I got-
like it works on so many levels.
wow.
I love this joke so much because on the surface it's funny
Yeah.
because the fainting couch is funny. It's funny because it's kind of
Oh, I
poking
see.
fun. It's poking fun at this ongoing joke since like season 1 of Rarity pulling a fainting couch out of nowhere, and whoever if she's in someone else's house, for example, they're just stuck with it now.
I had always thought it was just Twilight was bugged by the fact that she moved the couch.
No, I think it just came out of nowhere. Maybe she teleported it or something, and then Twilight was just stuck with it. And then at the end, she's stuck with 2.
Yeah.
So
fantastic.
that's a perfect joke for the show. It's cartoony,
Like, yeah, yeah.
it's continuity, it's character based. I love it.
Yeah. Really good gag, definitely.
So
I mean,
I've
you
been.
guys-
Oh yeah, I was just about to say I've been talking too much. I want to hear from other people.
Well, like,
Go ahead.
oh, do you want to
Everyone at once.
Was Drummershy gonna say something?
Yeah, I was gonna say that the episode was very good.
Also Derpy.
Also,
Yeah,
Derby,
yeah.
yeah.
Oh, I didn't see that. Oh yeah, I did.
It's crazy what you think about Rarity and Spike's relationship throughout all the seasons of the show, but this one, it actually went really deep. I'm not gonna lie. It actually went really deep. We got to see, man, what it's like to do without Spike. It was
So,
just
I
crazy.
actually I do want to get into something now, and I see Jessica mentioning in the chat, and feel free to speak up, Jessica. But how you didn't care for the episode, and I'm gonna get to that. I have a rant of my own. We'll get to. I don't know if you want to get to that now, or you want to continue. Should we continue praising the episode before destroying it?
Yeah, I think it's like best that you guys just talk about good things because I don't want to ruin the tension. And
well, okay.
I'm
So right in the beginning, we get this really cartoony mock apology from Rarity. And at first, it felt a little insensitive, like, oh, she's, I don't know, something felt off about it. But then I realized, no, it's just a funny moment. It's a cartoon.
And plus, I think Rarity just has that character trait where like she genuinely does not know, and she genuinely thought he was mad, and she genuinely did not know why he was mad, and she wants to apologize even though she doesn't know what it's for. And I think that was true. Like where
Yeah.
it was a genuine apology for nothing. I don't know.
So this is an example of how us bronies would pick this apart a little bit too much. I think it's just a cartoony
Sure.
joke, but Rarity comes off as so insensitive. It's almost like she's a psychopath. Like she's like, I don't know what I did. I just need to make him like me again. Like I don't know. Something about it just felt a little bit off. But then I kept telling myself, no, it's not a big deal. It's just a joke. But then that leads into later in the episode. And it kind of starts off with this insensitive, cartoony joke about the mock apology. And I excuse that. And then later on in the episode, we kind of start to feel like she only cares about Rarity as her personal slave. And again, like, if it was just, like, briefly referenced or something, it would just come off as a joke. It'd be funny. But that's kind of the theme of the whole episode, is she just wants her slave back.
Yeah, kind of.
Yeah.
I still think that the apology wasn't really this part of the selfish thing, but everything else was definitely. She was being so selfish, like
Well, I feel like the mock apology set the tone for what was to
Okay.
come. I don't know. I wasn't really directly tying them together, I guess, but it made me feel weird. Like this just felt off for Rarity to act like that to me.
Yeah, and I think that the way that Gabby reacted to all of it was very natural. Like
Yep.
I wrote in my notes like with her first reaction where she was totally fine. She was excited for her friend being happy, and she wasn't jealous or anything by the first thing, and that was great. And then of course she started to get more and more like upset and or feeling betrayed as time went on, and it seemed very natural, and I really liked that. It was nice, and I could look up to the way that she reacted at first, like genuinely excited for her friend to have a good time with somebody else. Because for me, as something I struggle with for some of my friends, and like in my relationship, if I miss out on something, I might feel jealous. So it's really cool to look as something to look up to. Somebody
Yeah,
not really
exactly.
feeling jealous over their friend.
Yeah, I
or
want to
partner.
summarize that by saying Gabby was great. She was like in
Yes.
character, she was enthusiastic, she was entertaining, and she was also just like a cool person.
Yeah. And then of course as it continued, it was very natural for her to be very betrayed by Rarity influencing Spike, and Spike picking Rarity over.
Yeah, there was a surprising amount of
Sure.
subtlety there where she kind of started off like, okay, you two have fun without me, sort of like genuinely, you two go have fun without me, and then it slowly disintegrated into, oh, I feel like I'm being left out, and then she finally snapped when she caught them playing the game together. So,
Yep.
yeah, it all kind of that drama side of things came together really well.
Yeah.
I feel like this episode can really be a tool for like learning about like
Love
friendships.
triangles.
Yeah, love triangles and relationships. I feel like that's a good episode to look back at a couple times and try to really grasp on like solving the problems and circumstances of like relationships and friendships. So it's a good episode for that.
Yeah, this is a slice of life episode, right?
It really is.
I don't really know
Yeah.
the exact definition of that term, but I think it fits.
One thing I like commonly think about this episode, or like I associate it with, is like it's a kid growing up, right? Like you just look at this episode and like you compare to how like Spike is just like would be willing to do anything for Rarity just to remain close with her, like through his crush, right?
Mhm.
But like as a kid growing up, you get crushes, like you
Mhm.
develop crushes on girls, and then you move on from those, right?
Yeah.
So I think like a big part of this episode is like learning
moving
to
on.
move. learning to like move on or like
Get
like
other
they're-
friends, right? Like not be so
Yeah.
obsessed with one person.
Yeah.
yeah, like under
I like
like
that.
willing, yeah, being willing to accept that like sometimes like friends will just like grow further apart. It doesn't mean like you're not friends anymore. It's just you're not going to be spending as much time with each other.
Exactly.
Like I have a lot of close friends from high school, but like I don't spend nearly as much time with them because we're either all working full time or some of them are going to university even. That's how it is.
Yeah, so a lot of relatable themes in this episode, as well as a lot of silly, cartoony jokes that I love seeing from the show. So I thought a pretty good combination of both. I guess I was just hung up on those a couple things, like my enjoyment being managed by my expectations. I was really hoping for some drama between, something to. I wanted some closure on the Spike and Rarity thing, because that's been an ongoing joke crush thing for years, and we never got that closure, and I don't think we're ever going to, which is unfortunate.
Personally, I think that this was pretty
yeah.
decent closure for me.
Yeah,
but,
I
maybe it
I
wasn't
guess
for
it's
you.
more realistic for it to slowly happen rather than one big drama argument or debate or one big thing to set it off. Yeah, it makes more sense for it to have slowly happened over the years, but I don't know. Like in this scene with her she wakes him up in the bed. It would have been, I don't know. I kind of missed the jokes with his Rarity plush is all.
Yeah. Oh, I think that also you mentioned this is like a more natural type of closure. Yeah, like I kind of noticed that in the end now they kind of work together like as equals. Like Spike he came down and chose to come in to help Rarity as an equal and as a friend, as opposed to, oh Rarity, I love you, I'll do anything for you.
Yeah.
You
Yeah,
know?
it is definitely a more serious relationship now.
Yeah, it's more equal as opposed to like him looking up to her only.
Yeah. So, all right. Any last remarks before we jump into individual thoughts and ratings? And again, Jessica, you expressed disinterest in this episode, and feel free to bring it to the discussion.
I have a lot to say, but I'm pretty much gonna save that for my review, just so everyone else gets their turn of talking about this episode. I do have a lot to say, but just gonna save it.
All right. Well, I mean, we'd love to discuss it and tear it apart. I'm all for tearing apart an episode. You know I do that. All right. Anyway, so again, I guess we'll jump into individual thoughts and ratings. Oh, I actually don't have my usual things pulled up. I got to get the average rating thing. But anyway, we're going to start off with Draconite. How'd you feel about the episode? We'll do like 1 or 2 minute reviews.
Yeah, I think I got basically all of my points. I mean, obviously Rarity was being kind of a terrible terrible pony in this episode, but it still felt natural. It felt in character, which like, the one with Rainbow Dash a couple episodes ago, like that was, I guess you could say, out of character, even though I didn't like it. But anyways, like besides Rarity acting like a huge butt, um, it was nice. And as I mentioned with the whole jealousy thing, it was something I can look up to. It's something that feels natural. And also the way that Rarity confessed in the end, it was kind of interesting the way that she was like, here's evidence against me. Oh, I did this, and that was respectable as well. She's confessing as opposed to just apologizing. So I enjoyed it. It was a good feeling episode. I would give it like an 8.5.
Ooh,
Yeah.
all right. 8.5 from Draconite. Up next is Drummer Shy. How'd you feel about the episode?
I felt really great that it covered, as I said again, relationships and kind of like the friendships of the episode. Rarity's expressions were top notch. It was amazing. And the entire feud with Gabby and all the other stuff that went on, it was just amazing. And I'll definitely go back and watch this from like if it's like a relationship or friendship standpoint. It was a good slice of life episode. I'm gonna give this an 8.5 out of 10.
You're copying Draconite. All right, Jessica, I suppose it's time for your rant.
Okay, let me just get this out of the way. This episode could have worked. It could have worked, but I was just disappointed. That's the best way I could describe. I was disappointed, mainly because the whole conflict with Rarity and Spike's relationship, especially with it being an ongoing crush that's been going on for a long time, that should have died like a few seasons ago, but didn't. this could have worked as a whole, like Lilshai mentioned earlier. They could have had a moment where Spike and Rarity would have had a heart-to-heart conversation, saying Spike's growing up, he's gotten over his crush, he's just thinking of you as his friend now, and that's just it. But they didn't. They just wanted it to make a little friendship triangle, as you would put it, around Gabby, Spike, and Rarity. And I was just not into it. I mean, I love Gabby. Don't get me wrong, I love Gabby. And Rarity, I like her. If I had to rank the main six, I bet she would be in like the middle ground right next to Twilight, but I just did not like her in this episode. I think after this episode, I think I kind of lost a little respect in her. That's hard to say because Rarity is a great character. She has episodes where she does show that she does care about others, but in this episode, she just felt really selfish. All she wanted was to have Spike as her. I know that the episode isn't trying to say that she wants him as his slave all the time, but that's what it felt like to me. And I just didn't care for it. I just didn't like it at all. Just this whole conflict of the whole love triangle. I know it's not a love triangle, but I'm just gonna say it. It's like a love triangle. But yeah, this I just didn't think it was that good. I just thought it was a meh episode. So I would give it like probably a 6 out of 10.
All right, 6 out of 10 from Jessica. I'm next, but I'm gonna wrap things up as usual. So we're gonna jump down to MC Jam. What do you think?
I think it was an okay episode. I thought it was cute that Spike and Gabby were pen pals. And just like Spike's getting older and finally not always relying on the idea of trying to be at Rarity's beck and call. And I mean, there were parts of the episode that were very confusing, like they have a gem cave. Why buy gems if you get them for free? Which was really
that's a good
confusing.
sin.
And the licking of the gems was really creepy to me. But I mean, just the idea of, hey, they have a gem cave. Buy gems or get them for free. But
That is really strange.
Yeah.
Like, that's like it's in the same episode.
And I did enjoy the short cameos of like the Power Ponies again. Like, I don't remember the villain's name. The Green Mane, the crazy Green Mane. I love her. So I love how Rarity dressed up as her. But just Rarity's actions in general for this episode were tough. They were self-centered, and her apologies never seemed sincere enough. Like, oh, it sounded like she just wanted him back, and that's it. She didn't care about everything. Like, even at the end, it seemed a little stretched. But yeah, and I mean, I could go on a rant about a few things, but I'm so tired I can't think of anything at the moment, so I'm gonna just say 7 out of 10.
All right, 7 out of 10 for MC Jam. Up next is Supper Boy.
I really like this episode. Like, just straight up, I enjoy how like this show in general like just covers like all like different like relational problems that you have like with your friends and all that, and it kind of like gets more like with modern times. Like nowadays, people are often like struggling with being able to like as we're getting older, people are struggling with being able to like move past their like previous relationships, and I feel like I feel like it was like illustrated very well, like with Rarity's reactions of like Spike finding new friends and how Spike is just instantly matured. And that's just kind of how it is. Like one moment, like a kid is like wanting to spend time with this one person, and all of a sudden it's not there anymore. And like, you know what? It is a cartoon, so like it shouldn't focus on realism all the time. I will agree with that. But like, I think it was very accurate in that area. So with that in mind, I'd probably give this episode an 8 out of 10. Like I felt like I personally connected with it very well.
All right, that's an 8 from Supper Boy. Should I call you Supper Boy? Because
you can if you want.
I know
if you like to call me Super Cat.
For anyone wondering, I know him as Super Cat. Like years ago, that's what he went by. But anyway, I suppose it is my turn. Oh boy, where do I begin? I had a lot to say about this episode in the discussion portion with the Like, this is the most notes I've ever had on an episode, and I didn't expect this from this episode. So while watching, I was thinking in my head, like, oh wow, Rarity's pretty harsh. This is horrible. Like, why are they doing this to Rarity? I was thinking back to the previous episode, like, why did they do this to Rainbow Dash? But then I realized, like, while I was watching, I was thinking, like, okay, it's like a 6 out of 10 episode. It's all right, but Rarity kind of ruins it. But then in hindsight, after really thinking about it, if you don't take that joke too seriously, the joke of Rarity being like the mock apology and being only missing Spike because he helps her and stuff, like, I don't know, it's kind of open to interpretation how much of that is actually her character. And if you take it completely at face value, she's a horrible character and this is a horrible episode. But I really think there's more to it. I don't think any of the writers or people involved with the show think this is meant to be taken at that shallow face value. I think there's more depth to Rarity here than that lets on. I think she really does care about Spike, and I think it would be silly to say she doesn't at all. So I guess I kind of just have to take all of that negativity as part of the joke. It's supposed to be funny. And a lot of parts were funny, as I mentioned in the general discussion portion of the review. There were a lot of actually really great and relatively subtle jokes that I was not expecting, like the fainting couch and what was the other one? There was a couple in here. And there was a little subtle hints here at their crush, like how Spike was always close to Rarity ever since they got there. That was dropped right in the beginning, and you almost miss it if you blink. But again, I was kind of lacking that closure of them having a discussion. Like, I know I used to care a lot about you, like in a certain way, Rarity. Like, have that awkward, like brief drama discussion, but they didn't have anything, and it's just kind of up in the air. And it's actually up in the air whether or not Gabby and Spike are actually like a couple. Like, that's weird. I don't like that idea, but I guess it's good they leave it to interpretation for fans to do what they wish, and that aspect is nice. So yeah, I got a bunch of notes here. There's no way I can go over all my thoughts coherently, so I'm just gonna go ahead and give this one a 7 out of 10. I was thinking like 6, but I'm gonna go with 7 for now. Maybe it'll change over time. All right, let's go ahead and calculate our average here. There, give us the drum roll, someone. Drum roll, please. The average rating for Little Shy Livestream reviews of Dragon Dropped is a 7.5, which actually we round to the nearest whole, so that would be an 8.
Aha!
Ah, I win.
So 8 out of 10 for this episode. That's funny. I went from 6 and now we're up to 8. How'd that happen? So yeah,
Nice.
Again, these are like first impression ratings. I don't know. I feel like this one gave us a lot to talk about.
Yeah, it really did.
I was not expecting this. I even saw this one air early, and I was like, okay, it was a pretty straightforward episode. Maybe we'll do a 10-minute review. but
Get
coming
that
out
YouTube ad revenue.
no, but coming out of this, I want to talk more about this episode. But we're out of time in this review. But those of you in the call, we're probably gonna continue. But anyway, thanks for joining. Thanks for joining our review, folks. I hope to see you guys next week. We do these reviews every week as new episodes air, so not many more of them left. But yeah,
Oh.
hope to see you next time, folks. Goodbye.
Bye.
Later.
Bye.
Bye.